Anemone was a collector of secrets. The reef she called home was a vibrant, chattering city of coral and fish, but its true treasures, she believed, lay in its quiet, shadowy places. While her sisters wove songs from whale calls and played in the sun-dappled kelp forests, Anemone drifted through the deep canyons and silent volcanic trenches. She traced the slow, ancient language of the currents and listened to the stories told by the shifting sands. The garden was a graveyard of a long-dead Leviathan, its colossal skeleton a pale, eerie architecture draped in phosphorescent moss and ghostly, translucent tube worms. As she swam between the giant ribs, her hand brushing against the cool, smooth bone, a flicker of light, entirely alien, caught her eye. It was hidden behind the great creature's skull, nestled in a bed of black sand. Not a creature's bioluminescence, nor a stray sunbeam. This was a shimmering, vertical tear in the fabric of the water itself. It was a portal, its edges rippling like heat haze, and through it she saw not more ocean, but a sky of bruised violet, streaked with rings of impossible pearlescent light. Her heart, a steady drum in her chest, hammered against her ribs. Fear was a cold current down her spine, but curiosity was a warmer, stronger tide. With a flick of her powerful, iridescent tail, she pushed forward and slipped through. The transition was not a swim, but a fall. The supportive embrace of the water vanished. She tumbled through a silent, breathless void for a moment before plunging into a new sea. She broke the surface, gasping, not for air but for sense. The water here was thin, almost oily, and carried a faint metallic tang. The sky above was the violet she had glimpsed, dominated by a vast, ringed gas giant that cast a soft, twilight glow. There were 2 small green suns hanging in the sky, their light weak and strange. This was an ocean, but it was a dead one. The water was clear, lifeless, and stretched to a horizon of jagged black rock. No coral, no kelp, no darting schools of fish, only silence, profound and absolute. Driven by a growing dread, Anemone dove. She swam downwards, her eyes straining in the dim, bi-coloured light. The seafloor was not sand or rock, but a smooth, polished surface like obsidian, etched with geometric patterns that spiralled into the darkness. And then she saw them. Towers, not built from coral or stone, but grown, or perhaps printed, from the same glossy black material. They spiralled up from the abyss, their forms impossibly slender and elegant, woven with intricate glowing filaments of blue and green. They were beautiful and desolate, a city of exquisite ghosts. She swam through wide, empty boulevards, past structures that looked like frozen music, their windows dark, their halls silent. This was a place of immense intelligence, now utterly still. In the central plaza, before a structure that fanned out like a colossal petrified lily pad, she found the inhabitants, or rather, their legacy. Carved into the walls were not pictures, but shifting fields of light, a visual language she could not read, but somehow felt. She saw the history of this people, beings of flowing gelatinous forms with multiple luminous eyes. She saw their city teeming with life, their vessels gliding between the towers. And she saw the end. A shadow falling from the violet sky, a blight that drained the colour from their world, leaving only this beautiful, empty shell. A profound sorrow washed over Anemone, a grief for a world and a people she had never known. This was not a secret of life, but of extinction. As she floated before the memorial, a single smooth sphere of white crystal, no larger than her fist, detached from an alcove and drifted towards her. It pulsed with a soft, internal light. Hesitantly, she reached out and took it. The moment her fingers made contact, a feeling flooded her, not words but a pure, distilled essence. A final message of farewell, of warning, and of a fragile, desperate hope that someone, someday, would remember they were here. The portal was closing when she returned, its edges fraying, the violet sky beyond flickering. She shot through just as it sealed with a soundless implosion, leaving only the familiar crushing pressure of the deep and the bleached bones of the Leviathan. Back in the warm, living waters of her reef, the cacophony of life was almost overwhelming. She swam to her private grotto, the crystal sphere clutched tightly in her hand. It glowed softly, a tiny captive star from a dead world. Anemone, the collector of secrets, now held the greatest and heaviest one of all. She was no longer just a mermaid of the reef. She was the sole rememberer of the singing city of the violet sky, the keeper of a story that had nearly vanished from the universe. And sometimes, in the quiet of the night, when the moon painted silver paths on the water, she would hold the sphere to her ear and listen, not to the sounds of her own world, but to the profound echoing silence of another. The end. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like, share and subscribe.